1,000% sure that on today's episode 930, that we have much to discuss. There was nothing that went viral yesterday. There was absolutely nothing that was said by LSU head coach Brian Kelly. LSU's doing great. Yeah. So I think that you understand and you know exactly what we are going to be getting into here tonight or today. Yes, we're not live at 7. You know what the deal is. At this current moment, we're a little bit live a little bit sooner for T-ball, but we are going to be addressing Brian Kelly's comments to Jacques Doucet. Now, I'm not going to play you the audio or the video. There's no way you haven't seen it by now. If you're a sports fan, you have seen it by now. I'm going to address his comments in 3 different segments of what he said. 2 of them I agree with. The third one I do not. So we will touch on that. And here's the thing. We can disagree. I think in today's world of sports, if you disagree with someone, they are a clown, or, you put the little clown emoji. Fans say somebody needs to be fired. We can agree to disagree. There were some of you who didn't agree that I thought last year that LSU would be the number 1 offense in the country, and nevertheless they were. When you do it for a living and you watch football that much, you might know what you are discussing. LSU is continually on the path in reference to finding other defensive linemen. We will discuss that as well. There is some misinformation out there and some clarification that we will give, because I don't think people are overblowing this, if I'm being honest. When a massive coach like Brian Kelly says what he says and it goes viral, what do you expect is going to happen? So we will touch on everything Brian Kelly said in that press conference. I also am going to get your reaction. I am legitimately, when I am done, I am not going to talk on other topics. What I'm going to do is I'm going to allow you in the comment section to give your thoughts and opinions. How about that? Who would have ever thought that we could have a discussion? And that's what we're going to do. So Steven says, do not spread misinformation. Name a time that we have spread misinformation. Name them. But there is a lot out there. There is a lot out there. So we have much to discuss here today. Todd Davis says that LSU baseball game was absolutely huge. They needed to win or else they fall in the RPI. Go Tigers. I agree. Believe it or not, I guess midweek games do matter. I think it was Utah. Did y'all see this last night? Utah lost to Utah Tech or Utah State. Utah was number 11th in the RPI. They lost in a midweek and they fell to 67th. So for some teams, maybe, yes, it does matter. Aaron Miller is here with the fire and tiger emoji. Good to have you in here, my man. Robert Miller says BK really wants to build through high school classes, not the portal. Okay, I don't disagree with that. And look, there are 2 things since 2017, actually really 3 things. The day that we broke the Steve Ensminger going to be the offensive coordinator news, I got absolutely abused. The Jane Daniels versus Miles Brennan, I got abused on that. And that I thought Jane Daniels would lead you to a number 1 overall offense. Got abused on that. So I'm going to lump those 2 together. And today and I have been obliterated by fans on my opinion. Which one of those in the previous stint have we been wrong in? I don't know. I don't think LSU's done at defensive line. There's not massive reasons to panic. And what's crazy is, I said, guys, and I've said this every single episode, that I still think that you're going to get to 9 wins. And you would have thought I said that LSU is going to be 7-5, 8-4. Yeah. It is what it is. But if you're going to go through high school recruiting, you can't get just one interior defensive lineman. Okay? I know the defensive staff was bad, but, well, technically you got 2, but really you didn't. Right? Like, I don't know if Demarion Johnson is going to be able to play here. I don't know. It does, I don't know. So, yeah. Slander Pop on YouTube says, I mean, people don't fully agree. Coaches don't seem to either. That Andy Staples take was off based and out of context. It was not based out of context. It 1000% was not based out of context. Because here's what Andy is ultimately saying. It's your prerogative for you not to want to pay. Other teams will pay if you don't. And we'll talk about it. But I do feel, I massively do feel, okay, I massively do feel that some of my words have been taken out of context. What people are, and look, I'm going to wait. We're going to get into it. Now, there's 2 defensive linemen that are in the portal currently that we're going to talk about here today, and I'm going to get your thoughts. I'm going to let you say what you think. And I'm not going to react. I'm going to react to your opinion, but I'm just going to let you go. I want everybody in the comment section, whether you're watching us live or whether you're watching us on a replay, give us what you think. Right now, give us what you think, and we'll go from there. Okay. Slander says Twitter equals everything taken out of context for everyone. It wasn't taken out of context, though, Slander. It legitimately wasn't. Basically, what he was saying was, hey, last year you got beat by Florida State, and they went and got Braden Fisk from the transfer portal. Braden Fisk goes on a podcast and says, hey, we paid $600. It's about, the going rate is about $500,000 to $600,000. USC offered me $500,000 in a condo. I'm going to take the man at his word. Because everything that we've heard on the mean streets of college football is a perennial, majority of the time, perennial interior defensive tackle gets around $500,000. So I will explain my thoughts. There are 2 things I agree with BK on. And let me say this. And let me 1000% say this. When I disagree on something, I still and have continued to say this. Why some people can't get the earwax out of their fucking ears is amazing to me. I still have faith in Brian Kelly. I mean, you would think that me saying this about the defensive tackle room, you would have thought that I would have come out here and said, fire Brian Kelly. Like, that's what I feel that majority, like 75% of you are receiving when I say you have a problem here. Anthony says, if BK we trust. I don't disagree with you. See, that's my point. That is 100% my point. You can trust in him all you want to. It doesn't change. Guys, if he fully was okay with where you're at, you wouldn't have offered JVR Suggs from Grand Valley State. Bottom line. He came out with his top 6 yesterday. You weren't on it, and then you offered now. All right. Brian says, if Blake says it's going to rain, grab your floaties and a raincoat. Thank you. Maybe there is still some hope for me out there in the ether. All right, let's get rolling. Everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share to all those groups on Facebook. Guys, I got to admit, man, look, I get obliterated by people sometimes on this take too. People will say, well, Blake, just go to YouTube, and maybe we should. But I don't want to get rid of our Facebook audience. You guys have continued to kill it. We are up 112%. year to date on videos, live videos. So I want to thank you so much for everything that you're doing there. Continue to share to all those groups. Continue to share on all of those social media pages. We greatly appreciate you doing that. You're watching us, listening to us on YouTube. Now, if I was a money hungry, I would tell all of those people at Facebook to go over to YouTube because they actually pay us. So if you are on YouTube, like, subscribe, notification bell, wherever you're listening to podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe. Let me talk about our good friends. Look, man, I got to admit, look at this. Look at this hat. Look at this hat. Dude, I'm telling you, it is the most comfortable hat I've ever worn in my life. I would not forget any paid promotion. Melin hats are legit. Like, guys, these are comfortable. They fit perfectly. You can go to their website. You can do the fit tracker of where you're at. And not only that, you can go to melin.com. That's melin.com, melin.com/AYS to get 30% off of your order. Guys, they're built 5 times stronger than any hat that you'll ever wear. They have natural properties, so when you sweat, it does not break down the hat. No sweats, no stains, no smell. Built for the water. If you drop it in the water, they told your boy that it's going to float. It ain't going to drop down. And you know what? We actually tested it, and they were telling the truth. Size does matter. The snapback hats, you can go small, classic, or XL to fit every sized head that is out there. Melin.com/AYS. Use the promo code AYS for 30% off. You need to use it now because that code expires in 30 days. Please, please, I'm telling you, all of you hat wearers, you need to go over there right now before it is too late. All right, let's get to a quick break. We got a whole bunch of stuff to discuss, and I'm going to get your feedback. I want what you believe. In the break, whenever you do it, give us your feedback about your thoughts about the Brian Kelly thing from yesterday with Jacques Doucette. We're going to take a quick break. Hit the like and share. We're back next. We discuss it all now. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler, he'll shoot you straight.
Louisiana is unique. The food, the festivals, even the bugs. No, not mud bugs. Unwanted bugs like these. The ones you don't want crawling in your home or business. Trust the Shield from J&J Exterminating. We've been protecting Louisiana homes for over 50 years, earning the trust of our clients because we deliver what we promise. Protect your home from pests. Get the Shield from J&J Exterminating.
J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
We're back. Let's go, man. Let's freaking go. All right. We are back. We are live, very much so. Thank you all for joining us. I know, and I want to say this before we get rolling. I want to thank all of you that have continued to join us. Look, our numbers have not been down. They've actually been up since we've had to go earlier in the days and not at 7 at a normal time. I just want to thank all of you for everything that you do for us and being here with us today. We always and will continue to always greatly appreciate all of you being here with us. Let's get into it, though. Yesterday, Brian Kelly met with Jacques Doucet at WAFB. And listen, the team asked me today, like, hey, do you want the clip from Jacques Doucet in reference to what BK had said? And I said no, because you've seen it by now. I'm not going to waste 2 minutes of your life and my life on a clip that you've already seen. But we are going to talk about it. So, to preface this, I am going to break down what Brian Kelly said in 3 different parts. The beginning of a statement, the middle of a statement, which got everybody in a tizzy, and the end of a statement, which he says, don't panic, which I actually do agree with him to some extent, but not fully. Let's get into it right here. Okay. So Jock asked BK basically, hey, where are you at defensive tackle? And Brian Kelly, and I'm quoting, like this is quoting him. It's not my perception. He said, basically, I know that I came out a couple of times during spring and brought up the topic of defensive tackle. With that being said, it's not going well. Let's stop right there and talk about that. What Brian Kelly admitted is that they do have an issue there. There are a lot of things that you got to break down in what it is that he said. And I watched the entire interview today that went longer, which everybody said, oh, that gave more context. That did not give more context. His words were his words in what he said. The context was he hit a lot of different bullet points that you got to break down. But he's actively telling you. He's actively telling his current D-line room. He's currently telling his D-line coach. He's telling his DC. He's telling you as LSU fans. And how are you going to react? You know, it's interesting. He said when things aren't going well, later in the conversation, he would say, well, look, that's why we brought in Austin Thomas, because I cannot be everywhere at every given moment. Bringing a guy in, I didn't used to have to need that. I didn't need Austin Thomas to help me manage my roster. But now with the NIL world, I do. So what he's admitting is, in theory, hey, we needed the help. He's going to be over getting us that help in NIL. Now, when he says it's not going very good, I feel the frustration of where college football is in reference to some of the price tags that are out there. So we will get to that in a moment, but that is the frustration, what you're seeing from every college head coach in the country. That right there. I'm sure it is frustrating, but it's going to get more frustrating very soon when players are getting a cut of the TV revenue. If you think that players are making a crap load of money right now, boy, do I have something to tell you. Ross Dellinger reported, I think it was like 5 days ago, that there is a structure that is being put in place. It's not formal and it's not through, but there is a structure being put in place in reference to players, specifically football, getting paid a part of the TV revenue. I think that that's fair, and it's going to trickle down to every other sport. Baseball is going to be the same. If there is any money there, every single sport is going to be the same. It comes based off of the NCAA lawsuit. You can go read all of those details. I'm not going to break that down. But for the number one bullet point, BK is telling you, look, guys, the pursuit of this is not going well. That is the context of what he's saying. So now let's get to number 2. And what brought everybody out of their seat and made Carter's post of Jacques Doucet's video mega viral. Brian Kelly said, and I'm quoting, "We are not in the business of buying players." Stop. Stop right there. What? Come on, man. But it's not the context. If you want to say, well, that's not the context that he's saying it, you are right. What he's trying to say is, and probably could have said, or a couple of different things, is we're not going to get in a bidding war. Now, you have Oklahoma people coming out today, and I have been scouring all the Oklahoma stuff, and everybody, their reporters, their NIL people, one of the guys that runs their NIL collective, and saying, I don't know where these figures are coming from, but we didn't pay anybody that amount of money. I don't know what's true anymore about if Demonic Williams wanted $1.2 million. But Brian Kelly saying we're not in the market of buying players comes on the heels of one player and one player only. This has nothing to do with the other guys that you went after. Now, I probably should have clipped this. I literally told you that last night. I literally told you that the night before. I told you that on Monday. I told you that on Friday night. And then when everybody else says, hey, guys, this is based off of one player, it was like a lot of you had only heard that for the first time. The fugsy you did, because I know for an outright fact, F-A-C-T, fact, that we said this on Friday, Monday, Tuesday, and we're saying it again here. It's about one player. My issue in saying we're not buying players is the way that you worded it. Now, it doesn't matter what I think on the way that you worded it. Brian Kelly had, since Friday, when he knew that this question was going to be asked, how to attack it. And I think it was smart. Listen to me. Hold on. It was smart by him in some ways. Let me explain. If you've noticed, a lot of the LSU fan base has come out and said, Coach, we back you 1,000%. You should not be paying for or buying players. Well, I had Jake Crane from Crane & Company on today. If you missed that, go over to our YouTube channel. It's all on there. You can see it. Teams like LSU have been paying players since the early 70s. Since Bear Bryant was alive, players that go and play college football have been getting paid. And I warned you about 2 years ago, you're really, really, really going to be seeing how the sausage is being made. Now, players are more than likely and probably making more. And I don't fault. Now, listen to me and listen to me here. I don't fault BK for not getting in a bidding war. I don't fault Bo Davis, Blake Baker, Scott Woodward, Austin Thomas, Bayou Traditions. None of them. I don't fault them for that. What I fault them on, okay, if there is a fault, is you had Eli Drinkwitz in Missouri that pulled away from Demonic Williams. Texas pulled away from Demonic Williams. Why? Because they probably thought that his price tag was a little too high. If it is $1.2 million, okay, let somebody else pay for that. That's fine. Simeon Barrows wasn't. And I know what you're going to say, because there's a lot of info that's out there. Well, Blake, Simeon Barrow was asking for money that what we pay a guy like Will Campbell. Well, the fairness, hear me on this, paying over market value for a guy like Simeon Barrow in reference to where you're at DT is the realistic nature of what you spend. You're not spending more than your highest player. He's not your highest player, but it's in a reasonable amount for you to give a player and not break the bank and get better. Because, again, I will warn you, and I will clip this, I will warn you, there are going to be teams that can and will run the football on you. And you needed that help. The market value for a guy like Brayton Fisk, for a guy that has gone into the portal, is about that. I don't think Simeon Barrow is Brayton Fisk, not even close. What I do know is is that it's not exceeding something absolutely astronomical to go up and get a guy. It's not. That is the realistic thing, if those numbers are true, paying over market value. But take both of those out. Both of them. Take both of Simeon Barrow, take him out of the equation. Demonic Williams, take him out of the equation. What about the others? Because I'm going to tell you, and if you're going to say, well, Blake reported, it's fine by me. CJ West committed to Indiana today. CJ West did not get that type of money. Now, maybe they didn't think he could play. Maybe he could. That's on them. But there's been multiple defensive tackles in the portal. Harmon goes to Oregon. He did not get that type of money. And you would have not had to pay that type of money. Now, I hear a lot of people and see a lot of people saying, well, man, is that guy just a rotational piece? Maybe he would have been a rotational piece, or some of these guys would have been rotational pieces. But as of right now, guys, it's about if they are better than what you currently have. It's not about what is a rotational piece. It's not about, hey, man, this guy might not be what a caliber LSU defensive tackle is. Maybe you're right. But you've known since mid-January that this was a position that you needed to go after. The number one defensive tackle in the portal, which is, the rumor or even reported, was Walter Nolan. And Walter Nolan got somewhere in the proximity of $600,000 to $700,000. That is what the going price was. Everybody goes, no, he made like $520,000. The bullshit he did, because I know that there was a signing bonus. I know that what he's going to get paid monthly. So again, some of those lower numbers, that is probably about market value for a guy that has serious production in a guy like Simeon Barrow. It was never, for me at least, about getting the top premier dude. It was about getting better at that position that you currently are. We're going to talk about that in a minute, because their actions, meaning Bo Davis, Blake Baker's actions, continue to show, even though Brian Kelly said what he said yesterday with Jock was like, hey, man, we're going to be okay. We're going to get to that in a moment. But you can't tell me that you're going to be okay and then continue to go out there and offer other guys that are in the portal at defensive line. You can't. That is the fault that I have. The unorganization, which it feels like. I'm not saying there is. It felt like that. Now, number 3. Brian Kelly did say that, look, we're going to be all right. I don't disagree with him. I don't. And I've come out here from Friday, Monday, Tuesday, and today, and have told you, guys, I think you're getting to 9 wins. Guys, I think you're getting to 9 wins. Guys, I think you're getting to 9 wins. And you would have thought I said, fire BK. It's not remotely close. Your schedule is favorable. I think you can beat USC. I think you can beat South Carolina. I think that you can beat UCLA. I think you can beat Vanderbilt, Florida. You're going to beat a lot of teams on your schedule. You are more talented than 9 teams on your schedule. What I don't know is, can you beat an Ole Miss? Can you beat an Alabama? And, do you split a game, going on the road to Kyle Field? You don't play well there. Guys, since 2019, 2018, you have not played well at Kyle Field. Oh, by the way, you're coming off back-to-back road games. You got Arkansas and Fayetteville, and then you turn right around and go to Texas A&M. But I've said that every single time. What I have said is there are too many question marks on this team right now, in my opinion, that I do not know if you can be a playoff team. I don't know that. Guys, you're going to have different boundary corners. Well, Blake, what about Zy Alexander? Guys, Zy Alexander tours ACL in late October. Like, are we expecting him to come in here week 1 and be ready to go? I don't know that. You're relying during a spring game, a true freshman in PJ Woodland who has to come in here and play for you because he's better than the guys that you currently had on the roster. Because there is no misunderstanding. Like, I think you're going to be good offensively. I think you got the best offensive line in the country. I do think that you're going to stun some people at wide receiver. I think your running back room is extremely talented. But I understand what happens everywhere across the country with a first-time starting quarterback. There are going to be times they make wrong decisions. Jane Daniels, 2022. What was your complaint? Now, he wasn't a first-time starter, but it was the first time that he was in a competent program. And I love Herm. I love Herm. But I don't mean this in the wrong way. Herm was one of the worst coaches in college football. Bottom line. Bottom line, he was. So I have said all of this. Said you're going to get to 9 wins. There are too many question marks for me defensively that says, hey, man, I don't know if Ole Miss doesn't have a better roster than you. By the way, I don't know if Alabama's offensive line with an offensive-minded head coach who, guys, Kalen DeBoer's a really, really good play caller. I know that they come to Death Valley. Do I think you can beat them? Yeah, I do. But do I think with this JFK $50 piece, 50-cent piece, do I flip it up and say heads or tails, are they going to win? Also, yes. You know what? Let me pause right there. That's not even I fall on that opinion. When I fall on that opinion, and I fell on that opinion 2 weeks ago, the lines for these games start coming out, and LSU's a 1-point favorite at home, which really in college football, you're giving 3 points at home. So what really the true line is Alabama -2. Which not that it matters because the games still have to be played. I agree they are going to be fine. I agree with BK. They are going to be fine. But there is a difference in reference to being fine and you telling us or him telling us or the expectations here, which he has acknowledged. Again, not on me, that he has publicly acknowledged by year 3 we need to be in playoff contention. So I will let you, since you think that I am which is so astronomically fucking stupid, since you think that I am coming down on him, that is his words. I will let you make that own determination. But what I won't do is change my opinion off of something that I see, like a Miles Brennan, like LSU being the number 1 offense in the country like we predicted last year. Like Jane Daniels and me coming out here and said, hey, guys, guess what? I just placed a $100 bet on Jane Daniels to win the Heisman. By the way, the odds are plus 4,000. I think you guys, I went to fall camp and I saw it with my own eyes and came back and said, I will never forget this, a Saturday scrimmage last fall. I came back and said, guys, I went ahead on betonline.ag, which you can use the promo code BELIEVE50 to get 50% off of your welcome bonus. I placed a $100 bet plus 4,000 that Jane Daniels will win a Heisman. It hit. It hit. Last thing, and I want all of your input. I'm going to let you do it. So right now, this is what I want you to do before we finish up. I want you to go in the comment section. I want you to tell me everything that you believe. And I'm just going to come up and read the comments. What is your opinion about what Brian Kelly said? Put it in the comments right now. Put it in the comments. Here's the last thing before we get to that. LSU offered JVR Suggs from Grand Valley State. Now, he had 5 sacks last season, 7.5 tackles for loss, and 21 sacks. The LSU, per reports, is also going after Aiden Huntington from ULM, who had a massive explosion at ULM, coming from Kent State, goes to ULM. He had 16.5 tackles for loss last year, 85 sacks, or 8.5 sacks, excuse me, not 85 sacks. I missed the period there. And he had 63 tackles. Now, here is my opinion. I don't know if those guys are coming in here to play the interior of the defensive line. What I would assume is that Brian Kelly, if he could land one or both of these guys, would pivot to put somebody else in the middle. Maybe Savion. I do not know. But if you're going to go after those two guys, maybe they do play the edge. But if you're going to, and I'm quoting, be okay, which I don't necessarily disagree, because I still, and I will get to this in one moment, I think that if you were fully okay, you wouldn't have offered Suggs today. Now, here's what's being missed in all of this too. Okay? I do think that you have a very good staff that can scheme up to win you a game, maybe that you're not the more talented team in. Now, I say that, but it's exactly what Kalen DeBoer did last year at Washington. Guys, both times that he faced off against Oregon, the time that he faced off against Texas, some would say he did not have the talent that those other teams did, especially defensively, that they outcoached and out-schemed everybody, which to some degree I agree with them. But I do believe schematically you can outcoach teams. So I don't know if you're a playoff team. I think there's too many question marks for me. And guys, we're on May the 8th. Way too many questions. But what I do know is, for me, I do feel that you can get there. The question is, do you beat an Ole Miss or do you beat an Alabama? Do you not slip up on the road at Florida and win the games that you're supposed to? In my view, that you're supposed to. All right. Let's get to your comments. I'm just going to go down one by one, and we'll start from them right here. Now, I'll have to go back through a lot of these, and we'll go from there. Marvin Mackey says, facts, Blake, we needed to pay the price. Look, I am not saying to pay a kid $1.2 million. And if you come down to the underarching theme that you do not want to pay that, again, Oklahoma people are saying that they did not look, you have LSU people out here saying the kid wanted $1 million, 1.2, 1.5 million. You have Oklahoma people out here now saying that ain't true. And one of the guys that is head and running their collective, guys, this dude's on social media, right? Like this, I don't know what Oklahoma people are saying, but they're coming out, and you know what? Good on them. I'm not telling you to do that. What I am saying is Miami paid the price. Texas paid the price. Oregon paid the price. You know why? Because they needed help, or they believed that they needed help. And if you believe that any of those guys went there because they love the place that they're going, you are an idiot. I have warned you and told you what the sausage looks like, and you did not believe it. Now, I would assume that a lot of you who say, hell yeah, coach, we're not into buying players. Guys, you've had multiple top 5 recruiting classes in high school. Not just from Brian Kelly, but Orgeron, Les Miles, and Nick Saban. And I'm going to tell you something that you know, but you really need to understand. They do not come here for free. Let me repeat it, and maybe I will go a little slower. Big time players don't go anywhere without getting a little cheddar. And that's the bottom line. So, it is what it is. I don't know what this means, but we're going to read it. Roy Jones says, in 1979, I'm not going to say what school, but my dad got $10,000 and mom got a new Bill Blass edition LTD. How about that? How about that? Nye on YouTube says market value is whatever someone is willing to pay. It just happens to be a player's market, and a solid defensive tackle is in a very low supply. So yeah, average guys are going to get better than average offers. I agree with that. And look, you can have the opinion, and there's nothing wrong with having this opinion, that you don't believe that X player is worth the value of Y. But what you cannot do is really and truthfully is go, what did you think was going to happen? Why do you think that so many DTs went in the portal? Because it's not, and I warned you of this too, it's not just LSU that came out here with Brian Kelly saying, hey, man, we need interior defensive linemen. If you watch Ruffino and Joe show, which I vehemently think that you should go over to Ruffino and Joe show, subscribe, notification bell, we cover college football from a national scale. We talk about when Brent Venables goes up to the podium. Mario Cristobal goes on with Josh Pate. Dan Lanning goes to the podium. And all of these guys are saying the same exact thing. We want DTs. And what happens? The DT guys come out, and there is a school that's willing to pay what they believe is market value. Don't pay the 1.2 million. But what I will tell you is there are many guys in this scenario, Bob, like CJ West. Guys, you can have maybe you didn't want him or think that he could play here. What I do think is CJ West is better than any number 2 defensive tackle that you have right here. Now, can Gio Paez come in and be a relatively good guy? Maybe so. But why are you out there offering Aiden Huntington and Javier Suggs if you still don't believe that you need that push? Actions are always bigger than words. Any coach can say whatever they want. Actions will always be bigger than words. Okay. Let's see. Stephen Young says that true freshman corners worked in 2004 or 2014. Well, here's the thing, and I'm going to pull this up. In 2014, you went 8-5. why did you go 8-5 in 2014? 2013, look, 2011, 2012, or look, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, you had a 1, 2, 3, 4, a 4-year span where you didn't get 10 wins. I mean, you didn't. So if it worked, your team still did not have massive success. Andrew Paul's Hub Martin says, I'm not worried about it. Some of the takes I've seen are treading into the territory of goldfish memory. 2022 A&M serves as the cautionary tale. Paul's Hub, here's the problem with this A&M take that I see people having, okay? That is high school players that have never played. Right? So Denver Harris. You know that Simeon Barrow can play. You know that Demonic Williams can play. Simeon Barrow was in a conference, and not SEC fans are like, Big Ten sucks. The guys know the fuck they don't. They had 2 teams that are in their conference right now that was in the national title game last year. They don't suck. A&M suffered from Jimbo sucking. It had nothing to do with their defensive line not being good, Edgerrin Cooper not being really good. They just sucked. They got really good running backs. I don't agree with the A&M take at all. Jack K says, I'm good with what BK said. However, I think that he can make an exception from time to time to increase NIL spending to get a player that you really need. I agree. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? And listen, the conversation is, okay, the conversation that we continue to have here is, do you want to pay a guy like a Simeon Barrow and match what the highest player at LSU is making? Well, that is realistic over market value. That is realistic. And listen, anybody that will tell you that plays in the NFL, now all of that is accessible. I mean, you got to wane against, okay? You have to wane against your locker room. You have to go to guys and say, listen, we believe that we're going to be a playoff team. We need this guy here. We've had issues at this position. I mean, I get it. And let me ask this question. Who's going to be mad? Perk? Campbell? If y'all are all making the same amount of money, what are they mad at? Does Will Campbell, Harold Perkins, and by the way, so many of you thought that Harold Perkins didn't have a good year. He had the same damn year. We went through the stats 3 weeks ago. He had the same freaking year. He had a sack and a half off. But the perception changed. If you're making the same money, we need this guy here. So you're willing to pay others, but not, that are on your team, but not to bring a guy in. Well, we want to, it's different bringing a guy into your program. You mean like you did in 2022 when you won the West? You think those guys were free? LSU Hyper Ninja says, Blake, this might not be a popular question, but will the secondary? I'm glad you asked this. So yes, this is a good question. Will the secondary and safety positions possibly improve this season? I don't know. I've never seen PJ Woodland in an actual real game cover on the boundary. What I did see is your offense absolutely abuse your secondary, not just in the spring game. It has not gotten better. So, my question remains, can they be better? I have a lot of faith in PJ Woodland, believe it or not. I really, really, really do. But I don't know. I can give you my perception. I think you need to play guys like Kylan Jackson to Deshaun McBride and say, and excuse me if you're around children, but fuck it. Sorry. Fuck it. Don't let the better athlete stay on the sideline. Sage Ryan, if he blows the coverage, get him out. If guys blow coverages, get them out. Find somebody that I would rather a guy physically got beat than mentally got beat. I can't stand when people get mentally beat. It's a want to. It's a focus and determination. So, no, I don't know. I don't know. Kevin, I think it's how. Forgive me if I'm Kevin or Kevin. I'm sorry but Boudreaux. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Says Parkins played in fewer games and his freshman year. So then you're acknowledging that he had a down year. What got different from 20? Guys, you ran the exact same scheme in 22 than you did in 23. What changed? What changed? You want to know what changed? You didn't have a secondary full of experienced dudes everywhere. Guys, you had more experience in your secondary than anywhere else. Your secondary in 22 had Jared Bernard-Converse was a senior. Greg Brooks technically was a senior, if I'm not mistaken, but he had the red shirt year, so he was a junior and could come back, but he was technically a senior. Joe Fouché was a senior. Jay Ward was a senior. So Mekhi Garner was a senior. So you had 5 guys that not only had played a lot of football, but that there was nothing that they hadn't seen before. There wasn't one thing that happened in 2022 that Jared Bernard-Converse hadn't seen. Anthony says that Greg Brooks' injury hurt last year. Of course it did. Of course it did. And we pray for him too. Stephen Young says BK needs to take a page from Jay Johnson and play the freshman. I mean, his first year he came in out of necessity and had to. But I think he's going to let his position coach rotate that out too. H-Town Creole says Blake Baker is supposed to be a good DC, so it's time to see how great he is. Look, if you're dead last in the country, regardless, I don't know how much you can blame Blake Baker because I don't think you got better defensively. I don't know if you've gotten better personnel defensively. I hope that you did. I think that you might have, but how am I supposed to come out? When we come out here and we'll start our stuff in June and start breaking down other teams, breaking down your schedule, going team by team by team by team, like we always do. But what I don't know what I don't know, and neither do you. Here's the biggest lie that all of you tell yourselves. We got this guy coming in. He's going to be a dog. Okay, motherfucker. Well, how much of a dog is he going to be? How much? Because the likelihood of freshmen coming in here and playing like Will Campbell does not happen often. Emory Jones and Will Campbell, Harold Perkins don't fall off on trees all the time. And I don't know if you have that guy in the secondary. I know for a fact, other than Gabe Relaford, I don't know how much you got that on your D-line. I don't know if you've got that at corner. But to wrap all of this up, don't let it fool you. Don't let anybody fool you. Of the two things, the two of the three tiers that we broke down, I agree with BK on. Don't pay it. It's stupid. If you believe it's stupid, then it's stupid. But what I will say is, guys, you've had 3 months, over 3 months. Guys, we're coming up on 4 months. Guys, next week, it will be 4 months that you've had that you have addressed and said you need DTs. 4. Final thing here. There are people that are on Twitter that are reporting stuff. I will caution you, like I've always cautioned you, and like I told you, BK was not going to Michigan. Take shit with a grain of salt. I'm looking you in your eyes. Take shit with a grain of salt. Listen to other people, because there are other people that are more in the weeds on this shit than others. Oh, I'm hearing this. The fuck you're hearing it. The fuck you're hearing it. And then you're still in takes. Well, Simeon Barrow wanted this. No shit. I said it on Friday night. No shit. It's like an episode of Blue's Clues. We just found a clue. We just found a clue. Or we just got a letter. Wonder who it's from. AYS episode last Friday night. That's where the fuck it came from. But they don't want to, oh, well, you know, Blake said this. They don't give they're not going to, oh, well, this is what I heard and it was actually true. So how is it that all this shit comes out and kids commit? I tell you exactly on Friday night how it all broke down, and now on media. Do I have a crystal fucking ball? Am I from the future? I got a magic 8 ball right here in my pants. All right. If you're wondering if I'm pissed, you're to some extent. I'm not pissed off at anybody. Again, think you're going to get to 9 wins. You're going to have to prove to me that you can get further. All right. I have T-ball that I got to get to. So one final two here. Blake, 2022 was a special team. 2023 was the defense, and now 2024 is the DT. Always something. Hopefully we can get it all together. I agree with you. Chris Leonard says we didn't have a D-line coach for a year and a half. That's why our D-line group looks like this. One more year, guys. Just be patient. No, your defensive coordinator ran off Jamar Cain. You wouldn't have had this. You wouldn't have had this issue. I knew that wasn't going to play out well. Steven says we didn't have a DL coach and the DC was a turd last year. Brian Kelly, it's on Brian Kelly to do that, man, to make sure that doesn't happen. All right. I saw this. Yes, we can get to that. Leo Ferdinand says, I just don't believe in buying players. It doesn't matter what you believe. Leo, newsflash. Everybody's fucking buying players. Leo, everybody is buying players. You can say, oh, well, you know, I don't believe in it. They're making billions upon billions upon billions of dollars every single year in college football. You don't have to believe in it. But the kids that are out there on the field that are making you all that money, they deserve a cut. Bottom line. I don't believe in it. It doesn't matter what you believe. I don't mean to be rude. All right. We'll see y'all tomorrow, man. Y'all have a good one. Peace.